So I was going back to something that you had stated the other day. You were talking about how marriage shouldn't be the only destination in our mind, and the context behind it was we're not really looking at the present when we're with that person, and we're so focused on getting to marriage, we're
Yep.
getting to that point to
Yep.
where we're not being present with that person. So my question is, in those moments, for men and women, this can
Hmm.
be a question for, in those moments, how do we know if we're in the present with that person and if it's going to lead to something, or if we're staying in the present with that person and it may not lead to something?
Yeah, and I want to actually, I think the deeper question there is like, how do we know it's presence with intention versus
With
presence
intention.
and drifting, for lack of a better term, right? So we're kind of just chilling,
Correct.
like there's no label, we're just here versus okay, I'm being present and this is actually progressing. So, one of the biggest things that gives you the insight of that difference is, well, one, how are you engaging in the present? And I think you measure that obviously by the small encounters and experiences that you're sharing together. So I'll give an example for me, and why I stand on this idea. And again, I don't necessarily hold it as like it's a hill I'm gonna just hold on to for the rest of my life. Maybe there's a day where it's tweaked, but I don't necessarily tweak it in the sense of the destination and of itself it changes, because I still believe marriage is not the goal. And sometimes we get into the habit of making marriage the goal. And that is where we believe once we get there, then all of a sudden, all the effort, all the consistencies, all the ways in which we showed up to get there, we just stop. It's like all of it just falls to the ground and we no longer care. And then that's when, you step into various droughts in your marriage and you almost be confused. It's like the version that I married ain't the version that's here today. And all those kinds of things. So I would say this, let me share my example. So when I was, a lot of my times early on in dating, it was always an end goal in mind, right? Like, okay, one, from the first conversation, the first time I saw her, like, okay, do I see this going and crossing the finish line? And if I do, then that's going to be the goal. So I'm going to try to do everything I can to make sure we cross this finish line to become a couple. And so that looked like all the various things. It was the morning messages, the good night messages, it was the prayers, it was all the things, right? We dived into all of it. And what I realized, after all of that had happened and the relationship had come and came and went, that I was so focused on trying to make this girl my girl that I didn't even really fully know to what extent she's here and what she's here for. I didn't really learn how to connect with her in a way that was most beneficial, that allowed us to just simply be present and be patient. And so because of that, there was
Right.
a lot of things I missed and left on the table that if I was present enough to see, I actually wouldn't have kept going to try to finish a finish line or finish a race that actually wasn't even a race that was present. Because she wasn't actually even interested in that direction. That was just me. And so here I am just running a singular a race with no competition, no one running it with me. I'm just going and running, 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 right? And if I was present enough, I would have caught some things that would have allowed me to slow down and be more available, instead of only thinking my availability was valued to the basis of the conclusion. Is that making sense so far?
Got it. Yeah. It's
So
like, I feel like that's like typical relationships, is that
absolutely.
we are always diving into the romantic aspect of it when we don't even know the person that we're in front of. It's like, how are we
Absolutely.
diving into the romantic part of it first without knowing you as a person to even get that side of me? Just because we feel like we're interested in this person, then we're like, okay, let me show you this romantic side to show you that I really value you in that way. When you're not present enough to even know what that person wants, what's their goals, is this intentional before we get to that place?
Right. And when you're present with them, okay, so here's the difference. When you're drifting and you're present, there's a lot of subliminal accesses you give that isn't required at the stage you're at. So when you're drifting, let's say y'all just met. Let's just give an example here. you meet someone and this is now a month going on of just having conversation and getting to know one another. Or let's just say it's actually gone 6 months or so, right? You're drifting, and now you're starting to perform wifely duties to somebody who doesn't even know if they want you to be their significant other. They haven't made that clear. You're going over there, you're cooking food, you're doing all the things, folding laundry, doing all the things. And it's like, wait a minute. Like this ain't even there's no intention here. You have not even popped the question, right? To even ask and consider if this is going to be something we move forward in. Why am I over here putting myself in a position to serve and do all these other things where that's not the case? That's not even what's being presented here. You haven't even offered that, right? So that's number one. We're giving subliminal accesses. This can also look like engaging in further sexual intimacies, like at a place where the relationship is undefined, right? We're having all these various expectations and motives and motionings, and that none of that is there. Okay, when you're moving with intention and you're present, yes, I know where you're going. I'm asking the hard questions, right? I'm not just asking hard questions every date, right? They're sprinkled in there every other conversation or so. But this gives me an opportunity to learn, okay, who are you? How do you handle disappointment? What was the last thing you really wanted that you didn't get and you felt rejected by? I'm like, these questions lead from one thing to another to be able to understand foundations of where this person is coming from, who this person is, and how can I actually continue to navigate with them moving forward. We're present enough to where we can have fun at the stage of relationship we're at, right? It's not all serious conversations and we're talking about Bible and Jesus and all the things. Those conversations will come up. Beautiful. But can I actually have fun with you too? Can we actually get creative? And maybe there's a weekend where we actually probably just pay bills and we don't got a lot of money to be doing something crazy, but we're creative, so we put something together and we can have a ball. What about something as small as, I don't know, building puzzles, going to escape rooms, whatever the case is? Can we find rhythms in room where we can actually get creative and enjoy one another's presence? Can I just sit with you and there isn't actually much conversation being had, but we just enjoy being around each other? We're in such a fast-paced place, hurry environment where being silent on the phone for 2 minutes, somebody's already asking, not even 2 minutes, let alone like 30, 45 seconds. Hey, are you there? Because we're just so uncomfortable with silence and we need something to fill the space. Like, that's a level of comfortability that we're trying to grow in, and that comes with more conversations, right? That comes with more hangout sessions. That comes with more, intentionality and all the things. So we're just not in a rush. And I'm not tying the progress of the relationship to mean, or I should say this, I'm not tying the destination of the relationship to mean, okay, well, this is only worth it if I get what I want in the end. Because one of the biggest wins that I got was, man, the relationship didn't go the way I wanted, but I didn't regret a thing that I invested in, the conversations I had, the time spent, the money spent, and the relationship as a whole. Didn't regret a bit, because later down the line, I learned to just simply enjoy it and be in the present and stop hurrying to the potential and stop hurrying to the finish line so much that I was just ignoring what was and what isn't there. And so I think those are really good signs. If you're drifting and you're present, there's no label, and yet you're moving beyond what the season or what the type of relationship is asking of you or demanding of you based off the label. If I'm present and intentional, I'm enjoying the moment, I'm being fully present. What I hear, what I see, what I touch, what I feel, I'm very well aware of that. And it's intentional in the sense that this is something that's reciprocated. It's something that can continue to be built on. And I'm getting to know you as the human in front of me. It gets really hard, y'all, to keep somebody in a box of only how they can please you when you actually see them in person and you start having some serious conversations with them. It doesn't have to turn into a therapy session, but it for sure can turn into a conversation that builds off of one another. It's different. I can't keep looking at you like somebody I just want to sleep with in those contexts. It's difficult because there's a lot more to you than anything related to that. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. I love
Yeah,
how you said that too, because I feel like I've been on both sides before. And that's why I was asking, because when I was 21, I was engaged, right? And he was the son of a pastor. And I felt like in that relationship, when we were together, we were both virgins, so we were waiting for marriage.
sure.
And at that time, I felt like I was looking for marriage, but it wasn't in the forefront when I was with him. It was just enjoying his time, just us getting together. Then a year later, he proposed to me. So that's pretty much how that happened. Once I started getting older, I felt like I was still kind of chill as far as getting to know the person, but it was at a point in time to where I'm like, okay, where is this going? It's like I was
Mm,
dating someone for 7 months and he was doing all these wonderful things for me. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you're doing all these things for me, is this either love bombing or are you just really a very romantic person? Whatever the case may be, right? Found out he was talking to multiple women, and it's like I never really doubted him. I didn't feel like I couldn't trust him. But then when I found that out, I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me because you're doing all these things. So I had to leave that situation. So now that I'm trying to be in something serious and wanting marriage and wanting kids and being a lot later in my life, I feel like, okay, my career is here, everything else is coming along. I'm still learning and growing. But now it's like, do I still take my time, or do I or do I still be like, okay, well, this is where I want to be intentionally. And so I think
Hmm.
that's the issue that I'm kind of experiencing is, do I still wait and take my time when I know this is what I want? And if this person is the same way, or do I still wait 2, 3 years until someone wants to get married? So that's why
Okay.
I ask those questions.
No, and that's good, and I love the specificity with that, right? Because when you know what you want, and that person knows what they want, and it's aligned, it doesn't take 2 to 3 years. Right. So there's a tension that you hold with that where you say, I am willing to wait to learn about a person and see what it looks like for us to continue moving forward. And, I think this is where we kind of leave, this is where we leave room for God to do what God does. This is why I continuously always talk about the spiritual foundations, because I think sometimes when we move with the aspect of it has to take 2 to 3 years, it has to take X amount of time. I think you'll be surprised at some of the things that God is able to do in the small amount of time you pour into a relationship where there's a lot of volume given. So like I'm a big fan of this. This is something I learned from mentors and coaches around me who have long lasting marriages. My mentor has been married for over 33 years. My coach has been married for over, I believe, 13, 14 years. Marriages that I've just witnessed around me. Parents have been married for almost 30 years. So there's a lot of things that I've been able to see. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting in having these conversations was there are some relationships that have a 20-year feel and they've only been together for two. How in the world does a 2 year relationship have the kind of a feel that a 20-year relationship has? Well, that's not because they've been through the same things. That's not because they've grown in the same ways. It's actually because they've probably put in more intentional time with more serious, in depth conversations and volume connecting with one another at earlier stages that allowed them to become closer as compared to somebody who took 20 years to get there. They took 20 years to get to that level of vulnerability and connection. That only took another couple, 2 years, a year, but that's because they were moving with different perspectives. They were moving with different openness. They were moving with different energy that made room for that to be cultivated versus somebody who does have a 20 year, right? And this is also where we realize the 20 year isn't the same as the two, because the 20 year has a little bit more dirt, a little bit more time. This is kind of the type of relationship where, again, it's vice versa. They don't have to be doing something all the time for the time being spent to be energetic or amazing. You got those 20 year relationships, 15 year relationships, whatever the case is, where it's like, we can just be in the same room. You on the game, I'm on the phone. We around, but we not, intentionally connected, and we're still at peace and we're still enjoying one another's time together. Right. And so there's like just a dual perspective there that I think allows us to be open to the idea that, hey, if I'm on the phone with somebody for 3 hours a day for 2 weeks straight, there's no way that there isn't some type of connection built there that gives us permission to say, hey, we actually do have the capacity to move forward at an earlier stage. It doesn't have to take us a year and 2 years because we understand and are aware of what we have the capacity for to be able to move forward with this. And I think that's all based off of your honesty and capacity and your maturity. Because there are some things that I would not tell someone who probably hasn't really done too well in those spaces that I would tell someone else who has. And that's just based off of how well they're doing in the situations given. And so I don't necessarily think you have to wait, always like it's just a rule. Hey, we're going to wait 2 to 3 years. That can be the case depending on who you're connected with, but it doesn't have to be, because depending on who you're connected with, that could move up to 6 months. That could move up to a year. Now, I do think there is a rule of thumb where you want to see your person in all 4 seasons. You want to give room for that, because you want to see how life treats them and then how do they respond, because that is what you're going to see in marriage. But again, the whole concept is to just not rush there. I don't need to be married today. Do I want to marry? Yes. Am I excited for it? Yes. But I'm full where I am. This gives me the capacity to be able to love you where you are, be where I am. We come together, lanes merge, and we're able to grow and process together with whatever that might look like. Instead of thinking like, okay, well, according to my timetable, I wanted to be married by 30 and I'm dating this person and I'm 29. So that means we have a year. And if it doesn't happen in a year, then that means that I'll never get married. And so I better just go ahead and go for it. And then that's when we just constantly block out all the subtle signs that has us
Yeah.
ignoring what's in front of us. And now you're at the altar marrying somebody you feel, and then here comes the 5 year itch, the 3 year itch, where it's like, fam, I don't even know who this is. And this is
Yeah.
that's what we want to be mindful of.
Exactly. And I think
Hmm.
that's where my mindset was at. I'm like, I'm fine with being single than being married to the wrong person. It's just, I don't want to waste my time if I'm with someone who's not intentional. And I think that's
Absolutely.
really where I'm at in my life right now. And people say I'm picky, but I'm like, I'd rather be picky than to marry someone like exactly what you said that I don't know. And so I'm trying to get to that point, but I don't want to pressure anybody to be like, hey, like, this is my timeline. Because someone did ask me, like, when do you want to get married? I'm like, well, normally for me, it would be a 2 year mark. Because then I want to enjoy my husband for like another 2 years before we have kids, potentially.
Sure.
Because I don't want to have kids right away. So it's like, that's 4 years. I'm
Sure.
34. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So if I'm saying 4 years now, I'm going to be 38. And then if I have kids at 38, I'm thinking about all these things, but I don't want to rush into it because of these time constraints that I'm putting on myself. I'm just trusting God with whatever He gives me in the time that I need it. So I'm trying to just sit in that and trust God. Sometimes I feel like I don't want anyone to waste my time either. So thank you for your
Absolutely.
question, for
Yeah.
your answer to my question. Um, it brought me some clarity. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where we just we value the present. And when we value the present, we'll be surprised at some of the things that become available, at some of the options and possibilities that become available. And again, man, when we know God is the authority of time, child, I don't even want to. So I'll say it like this. Do you remember the story of the woman with the issue of blood?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Jairus, right? Um,
Yes.
daughter who was 12 years old, sick and was dying. This story is so interesting because this is what the historians and scholars call a Mark sandwich, where he basically starts the story. He starts a story, he interrupts that story with the completion of a second story, and then comes back around to finish the first story he started. It's not going to turn into a Bible study, okay? Just hang with me. So Jairus is
Mine
on
is
his way, right? He gets Jesus and he's on his way. And then the woman with the issue of blood touches Jesus' garment. She's been battling this for 12 years. She's exhausted all options. And she's like, well, I hear Jesus is in town. And she says, if I can just touch him of his garment, I'll be healed, all the things. What I see in this, man, is that the number 12 is repeated. And the number 12 in scripture represents authority. And you know, it's a little different when you ask for the manager or somebody who is of above or greater authority than somebody that's in front of you. You know what I'm saying? You go to the clerk, you have a wrong order, and you're like, hey, I want to speak to your manager. And all of a sudden, that clerk got a little bit of a little different pep in their step in that moment. And then the manager comes out, and then all of a sudden, what was an issue is no longer an issue. And all of a sudden, what was a problem is no longer an issue. It's removed. That's the type of authority that God moves in with time. And when it comes to what we experience in the moment as we continue to grow in Him, it's just an aspect where, because He's the greatest authority of time, when I'm walking with God, I can never be late. If I genuinely grow in that understanding, then it doesn't matter when I get married. The problem, or not the problem, the solution, the answer, the perspective is just when I get married, not if I get married, when I get married. And that is just the aspect that I'm going to. Like, I don't have to calculate time. I don't have to hurry time. I don't have to do anything. Just, I'm going to get married. And it's interesting because when you do, it almost feels like life slows down. When we're walking with God and moving in alignment, life slows down. And it feels like your later years are greater than your former years. And what you
That's
felt
how I
like you
feel.
were, and felt like what you were behind then, you're on time and beyond now. And this is where God begins to restore the years. I'm done, y'all. I feel him. You just have to, he'll
Me too.
restore the years. He'll restore the years that all of these canker worms and all the things have eaten up. And that's because we moved in alignment. And I think you have I encourage you to continue to be present, to be patient. You're not picky. You're in your values. You're moving in discernment. You're making healthy decisions. Like, I'm not too concerned about that. Because because the secret formula to that is, while everybody else is running and chasing and trying to have it too soon and it crushes them, you'll be in the places and positions where you've shown you have the capacity for it. And what everybody is, wrestling with previous relationships, here you are in something consistent, longevity, and stable, and something you enjoy all the way around. And I literally mean all the way around, because that's how God really operates when we choose to do life with Him. And so I just encourage you to
Yeah.
continue to move in that space, man. You are not being too picky. This is the season and time to be the most picky. I'm concerned if you're not picky. I'm concerned if your standards are in hell. I'm concerned. Okay. And so, yeah, I just encourage you to keep moving with that perspective in mind. And I think everything is going to be okay. 1000%.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
that. I
My pleasure.
received every bit of that message.
There it is.
Thank
There it is.
you.
I
Thank
love
you.
it. All right. Let's
You have a good
absolutely.
one.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Easy. Hey man, y'all put a one in the chat. Did that make sense? Like, I don't want to be coming out all, it just I get excited about that kind of stuff, man. Because I know what it's like to feel, even in some way, shape, or form, behind. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that's what she was saying, but I know what it's like to feel like, either you're running out of time, you're going up against a biological clock. Like, let's just have some serious conversations. That stuff is real. Okay. That stuff is real. It's out there. And so you want to be mindful, man, and just be in the present. Be in the present and know that when things are flowing and things are coming together, y'all, yes, in some situations, some people take a couple years. In some situations, God has a way of allowing that thing to breathe, and your life is turned around in 6 months. Be open to it. I'm not saying that's what it should be, but be open to it. And know that God can surprise you, man. Like, when we only think of relationships or things to happen in one specific way, we kind of limit the opportunities that we can watch God just do His thing and see what God does in those spaces. And it's something I'm learning in various areas of my life. Like, there's areas where I'm only thinking like it has to happen in this one way. And I'm growing more and more bit by bit of just like, hey man, but then there's God. Like there's figuring all this out, and then there's God. And God will have a way of just doing something in your life that will just blow your socks off. And you'll be so surprised at some of the things that comes out of that, more and better than what you expected. Scripture says he can do exceeding abundantly. I'm done. Next call. Next